Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Kubefirst Live. I should have counted the number of Kubefirst Live we've done so far, but I think it's going pretty good. We have a couple behind our back, and a lot more of those live streams to do because we really plan to continue to try to do them as much as possible every other week. So today we have an interesting topic. We kind of like do a mix between like things that are really specific to Kubefirst, things that are like from partners, friends, application or technology or services that are part of the GitOps catalog. And today we are coming back to something Kubefirst specific. Let's be honest, John, we're discussing that the other day. We're kind of like running out of like topic that are like really specific to Kubefirst because we covered a lot of things on the platform. But do not worry, folks. We're gonna at some point continue to add like new features and new stuff to Kubefirst, and we're gonna be able to have like more Kubefirst focus centric live stream. But from the feedback we hear from you, you really loved when we have like third-party technologies joining, the show. Either technologies we use within like the Kubefirst platform or technology we have to the GitOps catalog. And we also brought people here that were not even like technology they can directly install within your platform, but like just like technical services or like services that we use internally that we just love and we just want to share the love, and hopefully that's going to be useful for you. So on that super long intro, how is life, John?
Life is so good, Fred. Thank you. How are you, buddy? You doing well?
I'm pretty good. It's I'm not gonna complain. I was going to say it's getting a little bit warmer here, which I love. Has like a generic weather statements, which I like a little less within my office because like I have those huge windows that you cannot see, and like sometimes it's really too hot, and I cannot put like the like too much of a fan of AC when we do our show. So like if you see me sweat during the show, folks, it's not because I'm stressed out about the technology or the topic we're talking about. Maybe it's because I get too excited about what we're going to talk about, but it's also probably because it's getting a little bit hotter in my office. But yeah, no, outside of that, life is good. I do not have to complain. Always a pleasure to do that show with you.
I know, same here.
Today we're going to talk about something that once we decided that was going to be the topic, I realized that we had absolutely no information about how to do that in the documentation. So the first step is doing the show today, and from the show I will write the documentation. But it's quite interesting because I have my idea about how we're going to do that, but at the same time that show is going to be wonderful for me too. So we're going to talk about adding Vault SSO group to your Kubernetes platform, or more specifically right now to your Kubernetes platform that was created with Kubefirst, because it's really part of like how we integrate like your Git provider to your HashiCorp Vault, and like how we manage all those things together. So I think this is going to be an interesting topic.
Nah, it's going to be a neat one. The reason that we're doing it, truth be told, it wasn't but a handful of weeks ago that we had just recently been picked up by the SSO family. Now all of a sudden we've got all these amazing engineers from the SSO team available to us to help us out with this, help us out with that. We have an enormous code repository at Kubefirst. Even as a public viewer, if you went to our Git repositories, I'm not sure how many you would see as an outsider. It's probably in the ballpark of 50 or 60, but we've got a ton of repositories in there, and managing our repos in Terraform using our Kubefirst users module has worked well for us for a very long time. For anyone that's not familiar with how Kubefirst implements Vault and users on the platform, when you do a Kubefirst install, basically you get a HashiCorp Vault instance in your management cluster, and we set up that Vault instance with basically treating it like an identity provider. You're able to add assets to HashiCorp Vault and establish a group of people. You can establish individual people, and you can establish OIDC clients so that the people that are in those groups can be allowed the correct levels of access to your platform tools. And we have all of the platform tools on the Kubefirst platform all wired up against those OIDC clients that are all created automatically for you. And everything works great out of the box. You don't have to turn a single screw. You'll whatever user you designate as your initial administrator, which is typically your KBot administrative user, that user is going to be the only user in the system. And one of the first things that you're going to have to do is onboard yourself and your team to the Kubefirst platform. And we start you out with just 2 groups, admins and developers. And us at Kubefirst, we got to ride on those groups for quite a long time. We could say we want developers to do X, and most of us at Kubefirst, because of the type of work that we do as engineers, a lot of us are in the administrative group as well, in the admins group as well. But in comes Sivo into the Kubefirst ecosystem, and we had the need to establish a new group internally. We dog food Kubefirst internally. We run everything on Kubefirst. So that's what kind of spawned the idea for this live stream. It's not inconsequential. There's a handful of tricky details and orders of operations. So figured let's do the whole thing live. We'll get it on video. We'll have examples of the code. And then if we can take this content and drop it in our docs and backfill our docs with a link to the video, then I think we're coding in public correctly, Fred. So that's
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And for those of you, if you want to learn more about like how we use Vault and how we integrated Vault within the Kubefirst platform, so we won't go too much more in details than what John just talked about and like the change we're going to have to do. But I shared before, and I'm going to do it also right now. We have a full live stream that I'm pretty sure is about an hour or an hour and a half if I'm based that on our history. So you can go check the full live stream if you want to understand how we did things with Vault. So on that note, John, I think we're ready to get that thing started and
let's
have
play.
more groups than developers and admin.
Right. Yeah, let's do it. So let's reality calibrate for a quick second. This is a brand new install of Kubefirst. We installed it to this demo domain that we have called GitOpsMagic.com. If you had your own domain and you ran Kubefirst, whatever your domain is would be replaced instead of GitOpsMagic.com. So don't think of this as anything SaaS. This is something self-hosted. Your domain would be here if it weren't my domain that we were using. So at Kubefirst, GitOpsMagic.com, we give you a launch point to get to your new GitOps repo. And everything that you need to do to configure everything in Kubefirst is always in the GitOps repo. That's where our IAC is. That's where our GitOps configurations are. That's where every single thing is that powers the entire platform. It's all housed in a single Git repository on a main branch. So it's always discoverable, always easy to get to, always easy to change. So if we look at this GitOps repo at GitOpsMagic.com, first let's look at the org itself. So I'm logged in right now as Kubefirst demo bot. This is just a fake GitHub bot account that I used as the KBot user when I did the installation. And I myself, as a personal user, John Dietz, right, am not a member of this organization. You can see in the people here. Excuse me. We do have a couple of my buddies in the organization, but I myself am not a part of this organization. So if I were to switch to my own profile here, you can see me as John Dietz. And if I were to go to repositories, I would see nothing. If I were to go to people, there's nothing public. I'm just an outsider to this organization.
Yeah, we don't trust you enough.
I know, that's the whole problem. And you shouldn't trust me. You shouldn't trust me. And that's actually going to be a part of what we're showing today, is that like adding a group allows you to define what you want to trust the group to have access to. And we'll be able to define the ACL rules in Vault. We'll be able to define what they can and can't do in Argo CD, in Argo workflows, whatever. So
the thing with that, John, is that today we're showcasing GitHub, but like if someone wants to do the same thing with GitLab, most of the steps going to be the same, except I assume instead of like creating like GitHub teams, it may be related to how do you call that in GitLab?
GitLab groups, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, you're spot on, Fred. The spirit of everything that I'm showing here on GitHub is identical in GitLab. There's a couple nuanced details, and if you have any trouble with them, just drop in Helping Hands and we'll help you along. We'll get it documented as part of this.
This is what I was going to say. The good news is that I'm going to add that to the documentation, and the documentation is not going to cover only GitHub, like everything we have in the docs. So that's great.
Right on. So let's get to it. How the heck are we supposed to create a new group in this organization called GitOps Magic Com? Now, the first thing that there's a few pieces to think through, and it all triangulates like Fred was describing a little bit. It's like there's Vault, and we're using Vault as an IDP, but there's also the GitHub ecosystem of users, and users create users directly at github.com. So like, if you have a user, GitHub user that you've been using for the last 10 years, and I want to invite you into this org, I'm not going to expect you to create a new GitHub user for my org. No, we're going to use your same GitHub user. So there's this GitHub user space going on. There's our self-hosted Vault IDP going on. And then there's a couple configurations about the right ways to extend access to new groups on the platform. And we're going to talk about all 5 of those details, but there are only 5. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is going to be the GitHub team itself. And I have already cloned the GitOps.
Can you zoom a little bit?
Yes. Thank you so much, Fred.
No, I like that you said also that you already have a GitHub usernames, like we're going to use it. That's the way to go. I mean, like I remember in the history, I'm not going to name names, but like a company like wanted me to create a new username just to access like your company repo, and I'm like, why would I do that? Like I like it's just like a lack of understanding and like how you can set like the right security permissions within your GitHub organization and repositories.
That's right. So I have, for my code examples here, I have a few. Already up to date repository not found. Why is my repo not found? Okay, I am on GitOps Magic Com, GitOps. What branch am I on? I'm on GitHub team, Git checkout. And Git. Actually, let me Git checkout GitHub team. Git merge origin main. And Git push. Oh, it's because I am not Kubefirst demo bot. Give me one quick sec. Can you give me some elevator music give me 100 seconds, Fred?
I will do that.
Thank you so much.
It's been a while we didn't play that one, so I was kind of like missing it. And you know what? I think time to promote one of my thing, which can be beneficial for everybody. So let me just lower down the music just a little bit. But while John's doing that, I have a repository called Coffee Chat. It's on GitHub. It's basically people offering free coffee chats to other people in tech to either, grow your network, learn how to start in tech, learn more about different technology, talks to people that are new to tech, longer in tech. Anyway, it's just a way, to give back to the community, connect with people, get to know each other, and talk about like whatever you want to talk about. So John is in that repo. I am in that repo. We have like, I don't know, 30 plus people now offering those free coffee chats. So I just wanted to, talk about that because I think it's great to give back to the community, and it's great to connect with people. And it may be more difficult for people that are not used to be remote, and now you're being remote, so you're maybe a little more disconnected. So that's also a great way to talk to people. So 2 things you can do with that URL, that repo. First one, if you want to offer free coffee chat, add yourself to that repo. That would be amazing, because the more folks we're going to have with different experience, with different technology focus from different countries that speak different languages, that's going to give more opportunities and options to people. And the second thing, if you feel like you're not ready to have those free discussion with people, or offer those free discussion with people, you can have some. Like, there is a list of people there where you can like just go to their calendar, schedule some times with them. So take the time to check that. It's just interesting to have those coffee chat, and I've done, I don't know, probably like more than 100 of those in the last couple of years. And it's just nice because that I met so many brilliant people and nice people. So it's great to get to know other people. It's great to be able to help other people. And to be honest, even if like many people scheduled those with me to like get some advices about stuff, because I'm doing that for a very long time, I get way more from those than I gave to people. So just wanted to do like a quick personal pitch about that, even if like it's personal, but like it's for the benefits of everyone. I just like to have people offering those and doing those and having a great time.
That was perfect timing, Fred. Thank you for filling the air. And I got my
creds. I just got Douglas that will join that list because of the live stream. So you know what? Like, one more person's gonna offer free coffee chat. I'm a happy person, and I'm gonna be happier now because I'm gonna learn how to have groups now. So we're set up.
Thank you. Nice segue. Yeah, I got my cred set back up. That should be good for pushes moving forward. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. So we're going to create a new pull request here. This is a branch that I had staged. Let's take a look at this real quick. So this is all that it takes.
Can you zoom?
Yes, I sure
A little
can.
bit, please. Can you zoom? Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
All right, awesome. So the GitOps repo that you receive when you do a Kubefirst install is going to have some main directories in the root. And Terraform here is how all of your infrastructure as code gets executed. You'll have 4 entry points, no matter what flavor of Kubefirst you do, no matter what cloud or Git provider you use. You'll have one for your cloud, one for your Git repos, one for your users, and one for Vault itself. So what we're doing here is basically just creating a new GitHub team called Livestream. And we're dropping that in the GitHub section. There's a section here for teams. And we basically just took the developers one, copied it, made it live stream, piece of cake. Let's take a look at the Atlantis plan that came from this. So Atlantis says that if we were to do this, we're going to create a new GitHub team. That's exactly what we want to do. Thanks, Atlantis. So I'm going to type Atlantis apply. And when I do that,
and if you want to learn more about like why we're using Atlantis and how it's working with Terraform, guess what? We have a live stream about that. So I just shared the link there. You can go check the live stream to learn more about how it's working.
Thank you, buddy. And in just a second here, this thing should kick off, start running a Terraform init and a Terraform plan. Usually goes faster than that. Let me refresh, see what's going on.
Just remember me that like I never go on Atlantis itself.
No, you always wait for it.
Yeah, so.
Oh, I guess I was too late and we were looking at a dead screen. This thing is already applied. So now if we go over to the teams, we're going to find actually that there's an admins and developers like Kubefirst always gives you, but there's also a new live stream team. Fantastic. Nobody's in it, so it's basically useless to us, but there is a team there and a spot where we could put some new people if we wanted to put new people in a GitHub group.
And two things about that. Actually, I completely forgot what I wanted to say about that. So in that case, let's just say I to Patrick, who said to everyone. Yeah, no, actually, I was going to say, okay, that's nice. Now you have a new group, and it's great because you did that using Atlantis. So now it is within the GitOps repo. There's also history about like, hey, who's like, what's that new team? And we know that John had it, and like in theory, someone would have like reviewed the pull request to say like, oh no, that's a good move. It was for the demo purpose, but now there is a new group. But the new group doesn't have access to anything yet.
Right.
So what's the next step?
So the next thing that we're going to have to do is add that new group to our repositories. Now you can do that one of a couple ways. You can basically go to the GitHub modules repository here. And this is what has all the rules about what a GitHub repository is. It's the repo itself. It can implement pages and repo names. And then down here at the bottom, it kicks the repo name out as output. Down here at the bottom, you can see that we're also by default always incorporating team admins and team developers to all of our repositories. So if we were to make this change at this layer, which is what we're going to do for the demo, basically all you have to do is copy that, make a new implementation of it, and then you can define what the permission is for that. So I already have a branch that has done that. Let me pull that in real quick. Check out team use and git merge origin name. And, or actually, let me git fetch and git merge origin main. Yeah, thought there would be something there. And when I push this up, let's take a look at the pull request. So if we go to new pull request for the add user, or no, I'm sorry, we're not doing add user. We're doing team use. Okay, so this is the change set for incorporating a new GitHub team repository with your GitHub module. And this is how you would want to do it if you wanted to always include team live stream in all your repos. So looking at this in code real quick, just to describe a couple things. I'm going to zoom out just one bit to get a little bit more real estate on screen. So we have repository main here. And when we have to define teams for this, basically, if we go to repos, we're implementing modules repository every time we have a new repository. So we deliver the GitOps repository to you, and we deliver the metaphor repository to you. And then basically what we're doing here is at this layer, at the GitHub entry point layer, we have a couple calls to get the team IDs for developers, admins, and live stream. The reason that we do that is if you had 100 Git repositories, if you had 200 Git repositories, and you were trying to manage them all in Terraform IAC, and you were trying to manage all of the teams and all of the permissions and all of the details about what constitutes a Git repository, you can do it one of a couple ways. You can put everything down in the module and look everything up in the module itself, but that makes a lot of different REST calls to GitHub, and GitHub rate limits the amount of activity that you can do in a given hour. So we hoisted all of the lookups to this layer, and then we pass those teams back down through the module so that we only look up those IDs once, and then the module has those values for all of the instances of it. And it reduces the amount of calls that go out to GitHub by like 4x. So you can basically create 4x more repos before you run into rate limit slowdowns. When GitHub starts rate limiting you, it just means Linus jobs run slower than you want them to. It doesn't mean that it's going to break or anything, but it's kind of annoying once you have a whole bunch of users and a whole bunch of use. So we're well prepped for that architecturally. So anyway, basically all we're doing here is we're binding this new variable into the modules. We established the new variable, and then we're going to create a new GitHub team repository called Team Livestream on each and every instance of a GitHub repository. So if we look at the way that this presents as a plan, which I'm lost on this view, I'm sorry. Pull requests. Oh, I don't have a pull request open. That's my problem. So let me open a new one from team use. We'll create it. And this is going to kick off the Atlantis plan. And I'll be fast enough to watch it live this time. So we got it initialized. And then in a second, what this is going to do is try to, I'm expecting the plan's going to say that this is going to add this new GitHub team to the two repositories that implement this module. So the GitOps repo and the Metaphor repo. Here we can see that Team Livestream is being added to GitOps and to Metaphor, just as expected. So if we drop back to the pull request itself, we've got ourselves a nice plan, and we're going to apply it. And now that we do that, if I go real quick to repos, GitOps, and
settings.
Thank you. It's around here somewhere. Collaborators. So right now we have admins and developers while this job is still pending. And there, it looks like it just went through. So if I go here and refresh, now we have a new live stream team added to any and all repositories that implement this module. Now, this is a good time to ask yourself, well, wait a second, do I actually want this team to be a part of every single repository that implements this module? Or do I want to implement something that's closer to least privilege? Because the reality is, if you're adding a new team, you have survived X amount of days without that team at all. So does this new team that you're establishing truly need new access to every single repo that you've ever implemented? Or is it really just a handful of them that you want to handpick and select? The example that I just showed is a carte blanche. I have a new team called Quality Control, and they need access, read-only access to everything. That's a good way to implement that type of a group. If, however, this was a group like the one I started this with, where we were talking about bringing Sivo in, and they should have access to a couple of our repos that we're collaborating on. In that type of an environment, you wouldn't want to bind it to the repository without some type of, or to the module without some type of a condition. And to set that up, all you would have to do is basically at the repository module here, there's already a handful of variables. You can just create a new variable that says, you know, this is going to be live stream users, or I'll say like something like include live stream team is probably a better way to say that. And this will be Boolean true or false. We'll default it to false. And that means anyone that doesn't set this will not have access to that repo. And then up here in the main TF, here where we were saying, you know, just no matter what, add the GitHub team. Instead, you could say, something. We probably already have one of those not in here, but you can basically just add a condition that says count equals var dot. What did I call the variable? Include live stream team. And then you could check for it and say that if it is true, then the value is 1, else the value is 0. And when you do this, Terraform's got this count feature where if the count is 0, this will not implement, this will not actualize. So basically we're just saying, hey, if that Boolean is false, or if it's true, then make the count 1 and implement it. Otherwise, make the count 0 and we'll skip over it. So I'm not actually going to put that forward. That's just how you would do it on the module side. And then on the repo side, it basically means that you would have to add one more variable here of include live stream team, and you would set it to true. Only on the repos where you wanted to add that access. And then all the other repos, you could just leave it default, and we set the variable up so that the default was false. So I'm going to take those changes and get rid of them because we don't care. And then we are going to next. So what have we done so far? We created a new team in our org that represents the live stream team. And then in the repos, we changed the module such that the collaborators includes live stream team that still doesn't have any members in it yet. Don't worry about that detail yet. We're getting to the part where we're adding myself, John Dietz, as a human to this group, but give it a second. So,
and the thing, John, is that if I'm looking at it, I'm like, my God, that seems way more complicated than like me just creating a group on GitHub and like going in the repo. Like there's 1 or 2 repo that I want to give access and like have the groups that I created, or even like the users directly if I want to do that. But like you really need to think about like the scaling factor of that. Meaning that like tomorrow, like every time you're going to create a new repos that you want, let's say developer groups to have access, they will automatically have access. Or you onboard like a new employee, you just had that employee, that users within your group, and voila, they're going to have access to everything their team or their groups needs to have access, which is really the point of that. Like doing like making that process easier, because like I know how it is. Like when I start at a new company, like the first couple of days, once in a while, I'm like, hey, can I get access to that repo? Hey, can I get access to that thing? Hey,
exactly.
So like I would like from the get-go have access to everything that was within what my manager, the person who's managed the security or accesses, thought that I would need to do my job. So that really makes it easier.
No, I really appreciate you calling that out, Fred. It's one of the most frustrating 20-year-old problems that we have in software development. And every single company that I've ever worked at that didn't have Kubefirst was broken as hell. I'm sure that 100% of our listeners, if they go to their Slack and they do a search for the word, does anyone have access to blank repo? Every single organization on the planet has that problem, and it's infuriating because the reality is if you have GitOps and you have IAC automated, then people shouldn't have to ask who has access to a repo. You should be able to go to the GitOps repo and see who has access. And if you don't have access to a repo, you can't see it, which is infuriating. But if it's in a GitOps repo, you can see it, and you can just see that you don't have access to it. And you can see who does have access to it. And you can put a pull request to put yourself forward as somebody who should have access to that repo through a group that's managed professionally through IAC. Like, and you know, it took 4 minutes for me to do that on screen. And it looked complicated. That 4 minutes just removed 900 years of toil in every single company on the planet because nobody's doing it. So
Yeah.
it's a good pattern. It's optional. You don't have to buy into Kubefirst IAC for Git repository management. I know a lot of organizations that just have enormous mismanaged swaths of Git repositories. That's a little bit of a tall order to be able to get it all into an IAC ecosystem that makes sense. But there's always a new greenfield project to start fresh. So
Yeah, and you know what? If you do at the beginning, you may find it a little more like you don't think about it. You find it a little bit painful, but like at some point, it's going to become an habit. And I remember when I started at Kubefirst, that was my first time really like going through like all the GitOps principle and using it like really day to day. And like I was creating repos that I needed. And once in a while, I had like John or Jared. It was like, hey, Fred, like, good job creating the repo, but you know what? Like maybe you should have it like through the GitOps repo. And you know what? After a year and a half now, it is me once in a while who ping John or Jared and say like, "Hey guys, I don't have access to the repo." It's probably because it's not in the GitOps GitOps repo in the Terraform file,
that's
and
right.
you know that still happen once in a while because that's an habit we had as developer for years. So like changing like the how we do things takes time, but once you do it, it's just easier.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
let's move to the next step because now the potential users of that group will have access to the repos that we gave them access, but like there's still a whole lot of things like within that cluster that they may need to have access to. So
that's right. That's right. And I'm dying to get myself into this GitHub group, but there is an order of operations and I can't do it yet because we need a Vault group. So any Kubefirst user, if you're going to buy into the Kubefirst user module, any Kubefirst user needs a team in Git to go to, and it needs a group in Vault to go to. So those are basically the two prerequisites that we're setting up here, is setting up the GitHub stuff with the GitHub team and incorporating it with the repos first. We did those. We're done with that. Next, we're going to do the Vault stuff. We have to create a new Vault group. And then we also have to add myself as a user to that group. And when we add myself as a user, we're adding it both to the Vault group and the GitHub group at the same time through the user module. So let's knock out the Vault group real quick. And once again, I have a PR staged. Let me check my notes. That's in the new Vault group branch. So let me check that out real quick.
I will take that time. I put a banner once in a while about like, hey, if you want us to cover like specific topics in a future live stream, please let us know. I don't get suggestions. And there are people watching. So you may have topics, technologies related to Kubernetes that you would like to learn more about. Or that you would like to see like how we can integrate that within Kubefirst. So I'm always open and looking for suggestion about topics that we can do on those live stream. And if you yourself have a technology that we can deploy on a Kubefirst on a Kubernetes cluster, I would love to talk to you so we could add your technology to the GitOps catalog, and we could have you as a guest to the show to, you know what, do a big product pitch about your product.
Yeah.
I know people do not like product pitches, but what I always say is that people do not like shitty product pitches. Like if it's done in a good taste and you demo the benefits of the tool, what people can use, if it's useful for you, if it's a great tool that's going to help you to be successful, whatever being successful means for you, we're gonna be fine. And this is what we're doing with our guests. We're basically telling them, you know what, like do a pitch about your product because we want to learn more. We want to see it's going to be useful for us, and this is how we do things. So on that note, I think we're ready to do a little bit of like Vault magic with the IDC stuff.
Yeah, Vault's setting up a Vault group is pretty easy. Basically, I mentioned a second ago that you've got 4 entry points for IAC. We just messed around with GitHub. Let's hop down here to Vault and take a look at just a couple details about Vault. So the first thing that we should look at is OIDC groups. OIDC groups is basically just establishing groups that are going to be in your Vault IDP. So we have one for developers. It's called developers. It has a policy called developer. We have one called admins. It has a policy called admin. And down here, I have added one called livestream that look just like the other two, except it's called livestream. So that's pretty easy. The next thing we're going to look at is the OIDC clients. So I mentioned that when we create this IDP for you, we have it hooked into all the platform tools, and the groups that are associated with the OIDC clients are defined in this OIDC clients Terraform file. And basically all I did here, it was already incorporating the admin group and the developer group. I extended this array to include the live stream group on all 3 of our OIDC implementations. Now, if there was a particular app that you did not want to give access to for this new group, it would be totally appropriate for you to not include the new group in whatever that application was that you didn't want to grant them access to. And let's see, the last detail that you need for a new group, and you don't technically need this. This is an implementation detail that you have to think through as the administrator of groups in your organization. What we're going to show you here is creating a new access control list for this group in HashiCorp Vault. And to do that, basically you go to policies down here, and you're going to find that there's a Vault policy called admin that defines all the stuff that admins can do. And there's another one, scroll down here called developer, and that defines all the stuff developers can do. So if you didn't want developers to be able to see all your secrets and you only wanted them to see your development environment secrets, you could change that right there. In this example that I'm putting forward for this demo, we're not going to give any permissions to this new group. And this hashtag just comments out those lines, so you can pretend that that's not there. We'll activate it a little later on so that you can see the impact of it, but we're going to start out with no access to any secrets in Vault for this new group. So I had already put that forward. Let me create a pull request, boop, and we'll get a new plan coming out of this. And with these files changed, I'm expecting that the plan is going to change some OIDC configurations, and it's going to have to create a new ACL, and it's going to have to create a new group as well. So let's see how that holds water. All right, we got our plan, and the plan says that we're getting a new Vault group, a new policy, and we are changing some OIDC assignments. So that's exactly as expected. Let's go ahead and Atlantis apply this.
And at that point, it's really important to let Atlantis do his stuff, apply, and Atlantis is going to merge the PR for you. So don't merge it manually, because you will have the changes in the GitOps repo, but they won't be replicated to whatever plans needs to be done by Terraform and Atlantis.
Yeah, that's another great call out. IAC has a slightly different workflow than GitOps does in that regard. So we've got ourselves a new group in Vault. I bet we can see it too. If we hop in here, we should be able to see that there are now 3 groups. Fantastic. So this group doesn't have any members in it, whereas the admins group that my KBot user here is a member of does have this single entity. So we have a group established. We have the group hooked into the OIDC clients in the Vault side of the house. On the GitHub side of the house, we have a group established, and we have that group associated with pull access to each of the repositories that we create. So we're creating basically a read-only user in Vault. We're creating a read-only user in GitHub, or a mostly read-only user. They have pull access. And what we're going to do is look at our cheat sheet.
I think we're at the point where we need to add users to that.
But yeah, there's nothing left to do. We have to add the users. So let's do that. Thank you, Fred. So let's git fetch.
Yeah, typo.
Thank you. And git checkout. What's my new branch going to be called? Add user. What a good name. Add a user. And let's open a PR and look at this change set. So this pull request here, if we look at the files, this is actually going to be better to look at in Visual Studio also. So again, Terraform, we did GitHub, we did Vault. Now we're moving into the user's entry point. And in the user's entry point, you're going to have this admins folder and developers folder and the modules folder. You're not going to have this live stream one. To create this live stream one, all I did was copy developers and paste it and rename it live stream. And there's a couple details. Ooh, I'm glad I'm doing this on screen. That's not the right GitHub team name. Let me change that. So we've got the live stream GitHub team. We have myself. This detail here is very important. Any user that you're going to add, you're going to have to know what their Git username is to be able to pull them into the GitLab group or the GitHub org that is associated with your team. So this is not something that you can just put a bunch of characters and forget about. This has to be a legitimate user, or else GitHub's going to throw an error when the Terraform runs. Everything else in here is pretty fluctuant. And I do want to call out that we are binding this new user to the live stream ACL policy that we're creating that has no access to any secrets in Vault. And this is just some outputs that allows us to get access. But it is easy to forget that every time you add a new file like this one, like I could create one right next to it that's for my buddy Fred. And every time you do that and create a new user entry, you have to go to the output and make sure that that user gets output in order to get them associated with the group in Vault. So don't forget that detail. I'm going to delete Fred real quick because he's already an org user. And if I push this up, that's going to kick off a new plan. So let me hit refresh. And let's go back over to the Atlanta side of the house. That was the plan before I corrected the team. Oh no, now I have an error. GitHub team developers is not being declared.
They're still using developers somewhere. Looks good to me.
Somewhere in here, it's right here. Live stream.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Third verse, same as the first.
Yeah, and the thing though is that your first pull request, I approved it, and now there's 2 mistakes. I did a really bad job about.
That's how live stream peer reviews go, Just whatever makes the live stream go fast. All right, so in just a second, we should get a fresh plan. Let me hit refresh, see if I can jump in live. All right, so we got our plan back. That means we should have our plan show up here any second.
Yeah, I
There
don't
it
know if
is.
it's because I'm not patient, because I'm not, or there's something with a GitHub interface, but I'm always catching myself having to refresh the
Yeah,
page to see what's happening with the actions and the workflows and stuff like that.
I know these outputs that Atlantis does are like a little bit more complex than your typical comment. I don't know if there's some about that that's buggy and makes a refresh required, or
Yeah, but
or what the
not even just with the Atlantis plan. I see this also with workflows sometimes
really.
where like I feel like it is still like in queue and like nothing's happening. And when I refresh, I'm like, hey, half of my workflows are like they're completed. So again, maybe it's just me not being patient and the interface gonna update at some point, or it's just like so used to a fast internet and things that like display more quickly.
Right. So we're applying this one retroactively. I'll just show what the plan was real quick. It's a whole bunch of noise, basically. Every time you add a new user, we have to extend that user into all the correct areas of the platform. If you were to go through here, you would see that it was adding the user to the group in Vault. It was adding the user as an identity in Vault. It was creating a password, a temporary password for that user in Vault so that the admin could get their hands on that password and distribute it, or you could build a system to automatically deliver that password. Whole bunch of other stuff the user gets in all the right places. That's the detail to hang on to. And this thing's been closed and done. So now the end result should be that if I went back to into here in policies or access rather, groups live stream. Now we have a member in here. And if we go over to the GitHub side of the house to say Magic Com teams and went to the live stream team, I, John Dietz, am now a member of the live stream team as a normal John Dietz user, not as the KBot user. So that's awesome. That means I now should be able to switch over to my personal user and go to GitOps Magic and in my yes, I can see teams, I can see repositories. I could even go to Metaphor as an example and commit kickoff pipelines, whatever. Actually, that's not true. I only have pull access the way I set it up, so I can only pull the repository. I wouldn't be able to. Actually, let me confirm that real quick. Finding bugs live on Kubefirst Live. Let's see if we can find one. If I went to here and oh no, it is going to let me because of the trickery that I did in order to be able to push commits. So skip that whole test. So we have user, the users in Vault, the users in GitHub. And the last thing that we're going to have to do is for Argo. So let me first, as the KBot admin, as the only admin that created this platform, I'm going to go to Vault, and I'm going to go to that new user, and I am going to edit the user and reset their password for them to something that I can remember easy. And just imagine that I just picked up the phone and called the real John Dietz and said, hey, here's your new password. Now you can log in. So now as the real John Dietz, I should be able to go to...
And nobody's picking the phone anymore.
It's so true.
Yeah, you ping the service account.
I know the pagers are gone, the phones are gone, and the envelope in the mail's gone. It's all gone, Fred. No more fax machines. So let's go to GitOps magic as me. Sorry, and now let me go to kubefirst.gitopsmagic.com. And now I can log in with this new password that I just gave to myself as jdeets.
So what you've seen is the management platform that we shown you right at the beginning, but because of OIDC, we used Vault to be able to access that, what we call the console.
That's right. So it lets me in as a user to Kubefirst, and I can get to all of my tools, which is great. When I go to Vault, it's going to single sign me in, but this looks a little bit different. There's access to Cubbyhole, which is my personal space for keeping my own secrets, but I don't have access to secrets. If I went to secrets, it's just not here. And that's because of the ACL group that we established over here. We said in our IAC that the live stream policy is not going to allow access to secrets. So if I were to just click ops, usually you would want to do this in your GitOps repo via pull request, but for expedience, I'm going to just click ops, save that.
I like that John now is saying it before I say something. He's just like excusing himself before I complain about like the not following the right process.
So so over here, I changed it so that now this live stream ACL policy grants access to all of the secrets. And now when I'm in here, I just refresh and now suddenly I have access to secrets. So that's how ACL works in Vault. Super straightforward. There's a little bit of detail about the syntax for the ACL policy that you define, but they've got incredible docs on their site. And it's really easy to set up these surgical nuanced details about what groups can access what stuff. You can extend that into your cloud and say that this group is allowed access to your cloud and will bind into a role and all kinds of neat stuff. So check it out. Vault's pretty cool. And then Argo CD is another app that I've been granted access to as John Dietz. But unlike KBot, who's a full-blown administrator on this platform, if I were to go to even just like some app like Metaphor as an example, that's a bad example. Or it's a fine example, actually. So Metaphor here, let's say I wanted to delete this as this new user of this group. When I go to delete Metaphor, it says, you're not allowed to do that. And that's because of the default permissions that we put on Argo CD for new groups. And likewise in Argo workflows, there are controls that you can put on what's allowed and what's not allowed. The last detail, and I did want to show that real quick on screen just so that everyone's armed with all the information that they need to get the job done for a new group. There's a couple squirrely details about the way Argo Workflows implements OIDC that need to be accommodated. So once again, I'm going to check out a new branch. Let me git fetch and git check out Argo bindings and git merge origin main. Yeah, let's take it all and git push. And when we do that, let's open a new pull request in GitHub. This is the last detail to get the group story done. We're going to add these Argo bindings. So if we look at the code in here, this is adding a service account. This is also adding a secret. And this is binding the live stream group. Yeah, sure thing. This is adding the live stream group to the Argo live stream secret, and the Argo live stream secret has a type of service account token, and that's what's notifying Argo to look here and bind it together. The last detail is what is this user going to be able to do, and that's another implementation detail that you need to consider as the person adding this group to the platform. To talk through that real quick, though, we have in the registry, in your management cluster registry, there's this cluster role binding file that is where we define all of the service accounts and what we stitch them to in terms of RBAC. And so we have a Argo server cluster role that grants it administrative access. We also have a I can probably find it with developers. So here's the Argo developer cluster role. If I were to take the same exact cluster role and establish it for my new live stream group, basically this is what we're binding it to. We're saying, hey, there's going to be a service account called Argo Livestream. And whenever anyone OIDC binds to that Argo Livestream service account, we want to make that act like an Argo viewer. This is a canned role that comes with Argo when you install it. So that's all we're doing there. Let me add this and push it up. Git add. And this one, what you'll notice in the change set here is that when we look at the files, none of these files include any Terraform. So because of that, there's no Atlantis in play at all. You're basically just, whenever there's no Terraform, you're trying to just get it reviewed and merged. When there is Terraform, you're trying to get it reviewed, and then you type Atlantis apply when you want it to be merged. So just a quick call out there. Let's create this pull request. I like it. And we're just going to auto merge this thing. Boop, boop. And we can go through Argo CD and expedite that. Let me log in and go to registry. And I think this type of user can refresh. Oh, this is my KBot user. I can definitely refresh with KBot. And you can see that picked up a change. It's syncing the change. And in a second, we're going to have some new RBAC rules. And then also in Argo workflows, let me do, Argo. If I hit refresh here, if there's anything needed in order to kick that and refresh that, we should be good. So if I were to assume that everything's applied there, I should be able to, with my JDeets user, I should be able to go to Argo workflows, single sign in, and I can, that's good news. And I can view my workflows. However, I think that I should not be able to submit a workflow, if I'm not mistaken. I can't even view workflows. Or here, let me see if I can create. No, I can't create. So again, it's a new read-only user because of the group that we put them in and the way that we bound that group to a service account and a set of rules in Argo workflow. So we have a new read-only group in workflows. We have a new read-only group in Argo CD. We have a pull-only group in GitLab, and we have a identity provider group in HashiCorp Vault. You can log into Vault, but you can't see any secrets. So you're basically a read-only user in Vault as well. And that's all we wanted to show. It's 5 steps. It took an hour to show you. It probably takes 20 minutes to do if you're not explaining anything. And it's not too bad. A couple details. There is an order of operations in play. You have to get the Git stuff created over there. the Vault stuff created over there. And those are the 2 prerequisites to add a user to a new group. So hope it was valuable to any new viewers that might need a new group for any reason. I imagine you can't live on developers and administrators forever. So
yeah. We already started to see that. And like the more we're going to grow the team and having like people in different positions, we're going to need this ourselves for sure. And no, that's great. And I could see like depending on like how you manage like the different aspect of the access from those people, like it's 5 steps, but I could see someone not too difficultly like automate that process of like adding new users with like predefined patterns and stuff like that. So, but even as Joan said, it's 5 step. It took a long time because we went through all explanation about like everything and anything, but it could probably be 15 to 20 minutes max. Maybe not the first time, like you find the right places to do this stuff. But with that video, or once we're going to update the docs with all that information, you're going to see like it's really like a easy step-by-step process to do. And at the end, you get all those access from your folks. It's in GitOps. Everybody's happy, I guess.
I know. Yeah, everybody is happy too. I mean, we have this new SIVO group at Kubefirst, and we have a new developer every couple days or so that would like to see access to whatever it is that they're going to help us collaborate on. And we can just pull request a new user every single time. And we know that they're going to all the right places because it's all set up in IAC and all the rules are in place. So you put a little bit of thought up front and it saves you a whole bunch of mess later on. So we like it a lot. We've been using the users module at Kubefirst for the entire life of Kubefirst. In fact, the predecessor of Kubefirst, our original Kubernetes platform, had a users module that was very similar. We've run it at enterprises with hundreds of engineers. It scales well. But it's always open for feedback and contributions to improve it as well. So if anybody has any ways that it could be better, we would love for it to be better as well.
That's awesome. So thanks for the tutorial, John. That was really interesting, and actually from my point of view, but I hope from people listening to us also. Good news. We're usually, I am usually a little bit late planning like the next live stream, so I usually cannot really announce what's next, but now it is planned. So I'm really happy to announce that in 2 weeks, we're going to have a live stream with John Platt. So another John, he's the CTO at StormForge. And, we're going to learn more about Kubernetes efficiency, how to optimize cost, how to optimize performance with StormForge, which is their product. So that should be quite interesting. And that should be double interesting. That should be like twice interesting, because John's going to be like our John. That's going to be a little bit tricky, but Erjan is going to be alone for the next live stream because I'm going to be on vacations.
That's right.
I don't know. Is the live stream going to be 3 hours if I'm not there? That's going to be unhinged.
We're going to need our unhinged sign for a couple weeks from now. That's right.
Yeah, actually, the next live stream also after that, so in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks, I'm not going to be there also. But do not worry, people. I'm just on vacation, moving to a new place, and deciding to really take the time to set myself up and do some like staycation. But I'll be back. And on that note, John, do you know actually what is the second movie about a database engineer called? What is the name of that second movie about a database engineer?
I mean, is it sequel the sequel?
It is the sequel.
It's the sequel. Well done. Well, I got one. I think that's my first ever get.
It is the first one, and congratulations. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
That joke is still really bad, but you found it.
It felt good in my heart to have a correct answer for once. That was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, folks, if you're new to us, this is how we roll. If you're not new, you know that it is the end of the live stream. So thanks a lot for people who join live. Feel free to comment, ask questions. Just say hi when you join the live stream. We always love to see you around. For people watching the recording, also feel free to add comments on YouTube or join us on our Slack community. So I shared the link a couple of times. You go on kubefirst.io/Slack, and you can also ask question there. As always, it's not just about the topic we're talking about. We're just a friendly bunch of people with technical skills when it comes to cloud native. So just happy to connect with you and help you in any way if we can. So on that note, I wish everybody a good rest of the day, and see you in 2 weeks, or actually see John in 2 weeks for
That's
the
right.
next live stream.
Enjoy your day off, Fred. It's well earned, buddy.
Thanks.